Manoj is asking about what is the best way to use those types of candidates. So Manoj, you're basically asking the same question that Rex did about like the positives of working with PhDs or like heavily academic people, right? You're essentially asking the same question. So it's a combination of answers that I could give you, right? But it basically comes down to one thing: stay in your lane, right? If you're going to be a PhD, stepping into a corporate role or, kind of going from academia to like the workforce, stay in your lane, right? What are you good at? You're good at research and you're good at procedural steps, usually, right? So that's how I usually approach my PhDs that work for me. I give them very focused tasks, right? Very focused, very procedural, very specific tasks to take on. It's kind of like, I asked them to write a white paper without actually writing it. I just ask him to do like the work of it, right? But the reason I say I could give you multiple answers is because if you think about the answer I just gave you, that's dependent on very good leadership. Because when I tell you that's how I use my PhDs, that means that a lot of the work is on me to take an entire project, all the stakeholder conversations, all the PowerPoints, everything else, and break it down, say, hey, PhD, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, not A, B, and C, and then go back and revisit and do this other portion here. Right? Like I have to be able to like be the architect there and say, this is what I need you to do and only this. Right? So that's what I would tell you, Manoj, that, stay in your lane, focus on what you're good at, but you're going to need help along the way. You're going to need good leadership along the way that can help you and say, hey, don't worry about coming to the stakeholder meeting, go ahead and take a long lunch, right? Because you're going to need the leadership to handle that for you while you focus on, whatever it is, like the deep dive into a problem, into a neural network, into whatever. Right? So that's what I would tell you, that, the PhDs are good at that. And that's how I try to use them. I try to keep them very, very focused and on task, or not necessarily on task, because on task makes it sound like they're irresponsible, which they're usually not. But I like to just keep them focused on not the entire project, but specific parts of the project. So I hope that makes sense. I hope Rex, that also helps answer your question. But that's how I use PhDs best, and that's how I think most PhDs thrive better in the corporate environment, right? And you're going to need that for like 2, 3, 4 years or whatever until you get more of the business understanding from a hands-on nature, right? From being like in the environment, right? But that's what I would do. So I never asked them to speak in meetings. I never asked them to prepare slides because they're usually terrible at that. Just very, very focused tasks. If you have a very heavy academic research background, then go and do that at a corporate environment. Don't go start trying to run meetings and lead teams, because that's not what you've been doing. Stay in your lane, right? So that's what I would say. Again, I understand some people might get butthurt over that, but it's the truth, right? Play to your skills. Manoj says, LOL. I'm just saying. If you're an academic and you've been doing research and theoretical stuff and following, process for the last 6 years. Don't go off and try to lead a small team of data scientists at a startup. Like that's not your strengths, my guy. That's all I'm saying. Right? Like this isn't difficult, guys. It's just that, people don't want to stay in their lane, right? But I'm just sharing my experience with you guys, right? Like I said, I've read many resumes, I've interviewed, I've hired, all of these, PhD guys. I've led these guys. Let them do what they do best. They are not best at standing in front of a room of stakeholders and explaining their work. So don't do that, right? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. I've said this before, like the PhD guy is the guy you leave in the team room. Oh, you know what? You're busy. You don't have to worry about this meeting with, you don't have to bother yourself with that. Go ahead and stay here. You know what? It's my fault that I scheduled it during your lunch. I'm so sorry. Go ahead and take your lunch. We'll take care of the meeting. Don't you worry about that. Just, you gotta play to their strengths, right? So just stay in your lane, PhDs, okay? Okay, so Rex, are you happy? I gave you an answer there, Rex. You happy now, Rex? You're still off the Christmas card list, but are you happy now?